Welcome to Making More Money for You with Magnus Carter. Whether you feel that you don't have enough money to start investing or are under the preconceived notion that investing is only for the wealthy, Magnus and his expert guests are here to help you. Now here is your host, Magnus Carter.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Magnus Carter, and you are on the Making More Money for You show. This show, we're going to take some time out of your busy schedule to help you find ways to make more money for yourself. And today's show, since it's a premiere show, is we're going to do a show that pertains to right here, right now, and being mindful. And to being mindful will quit taking time from thinking about the past, thinking about the future, thinking about the distant future. So we're going to start today by thinking right now, right here, right now. And with me, I have a very special guest that does mindfulness coaching and has multiple years of experience in this field, and known her for quite some time now, an author, a coach, and a mother. I present to you Kimberly Rathburn. Welcome, Kimberly.
Hi, thank you so much. How are you today?
I'm excited today. This is the first day. We're here live on VoiceAmerica, and we have people tune in to find out what this show is actually all about. And I can't think of a better way of actually thinking about starting a show about making money for yourself as to having the right mindset. And this is your perfect, right up your alley, if I'm correct. Am I right?
You are. Yes, absolutely. Mindset, habits, your health, it all comes together so that you can be the most prosperous you can be.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes some sense here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure not all the while you were mindful. So how did you decide to become a coach and follow this pursuit right here?
So that's a great question I get asked all the time. Well, it started because I was actually a group fitness coach and a private trainer. And what I noticed was that the people who were coming to me and coming to my classes were desperate to lose weight, and they weren't losing it. And I kept thinking, what is the major factor? What is happening? And so I started to experience some health issues myself and decided to look at food. Is that a contributor? But that opened a whole world of unexpected and now kind of logical, because back then that was 25 years ago, right? So other primary foods, we call them, that really influence your health. And when you don't have your health and you're not able to be mindful, your worries of either what's in the past or what could be happening in the future will make decisions, will cause you to make decisions now that will not be profitable in the future.
Okay, that makes sense. But for the food groups that you were talking, the foods before, you're talking about Burger King, Long John Silver's, Arby's, McDonald's. Are those ones you were talking about that everybody wants right now? Or
yeah,
how does that happen?
Let's start there.
All right.
Let's start with actual literal food. Okay. Because food, it not only helps you lose weight, but it keeps your mind engaged and healthy. And so when I'm talking about food, I'm talking about whole foods. You know, when you go to the grocery store, you want to stay on the perimeter of the grocery store. There are very few things that you need in the middle of the aisles. You go to produce, you go to meats, right? It's on the outside, generally speaking, of the grocery store that you want to buy your food.
So
go ahead.
So not only being mindful of going to the grocery store, but you actually have to pay attention to where you're at in a grocery store when you're buying these foods, right? If not,
Absolutely.
you go off the beaten path and you're buying three cases of soda or like 2 bags of chips or whatnot. So so does that.
Yeah, so staying on the perimeter, right, helps you to avoid all of those addictive type of foods. I mean, the food industry really knows how to keep you addicted to their stuff, right? It's salts, it's sugars, right? We're going to put them all into that box or into whatever it is, right?
Okay.
So that you keep coming back. And the cycle begins, and it's so hard to let go. And your body and your brain cannot function optimally with those kinds of foods in your system.
Okay. Well, with these types of foods and where you're at in a grocery store, how does that impact your wallet? Does it impact your wallet at all?
Well, I mean, that's a really good question. And yes, for some people it does. But what I also have found, particularly in America, is that we overbuy and then we end up throwing it away. And so if we could just start to buy what we need instead of excess, that will cut your bill. Now, you can always go to a farmer's market, which has the best food for you, right?
Right.
But then you can go to the grocery store and you can find things that are on sale. So you work with those items, right? So you're not picking the most expensive piece of fruit or vegetable or meat in the grocery store. You can play around. And the great idea is that for you to eat the rainbow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So pick as many different colors as you can, as often as you can when you go grocery shopping, right? So today, tonight I have a sick child, so it's going to be more bland. So I bought a tiny bag of potatoes. I have a little chicken, right? Mm-hmm. That's all you need.
Okay.
Some asparagus, right? You don't need a whole bunch of food that will eventually go to waste. And that's where I would recommend people start.
Okay. So definitely, so mindfulness starts with where we're at, what we're putting in our bodies.
Definitely.
How it impacts our wallets, what we put in our bodies, because that actually dictates what we can and cannot buy at the moment that we're there. The sale items like you've also talked about, and also coupons, we're all looking to save money at somehow with this, and going to farmers markets, definitely one. You're also supporting local businesses, so they're making money as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one aspect of it. What's another aspect of being mindful, especially in this day and age, that you've come across with some of your clients and some of your experiences?
Well, I can tell you that oftentimes I will either FaceTime or video chat with someone inside the grocery store. A lot of times you can save money by just making an accurate list as well.
Okay.
Right? So, know what you want to make and the quantity that you want to make it at. So a great idea, if something is on sale and you want to make that for this week, you could buy in bulk, make it all together, and freeze it. So being mindful of what we're putting in our bodies is important, because I know it's important and I get it. Mm-hmm. Groceries are expensive. Yes. But also, so is hospital bills and medical procedures and insurance. These things are so much more expensive than whatever you're going to buy at the grocery store. So when you have that in mind, And instead of looking at the tag so much on the fruits and vegetables, just be thinking, this is coming off of whatever bill could have happened if you weren't eating right.
All right. So that's actually long-term thinking right there, but you're actually taking care of the long-term by taking accountability for what you're doing in the present time.
Exactly. Yes, it is all about long term.
Right.
You know, most people want to live a healthy life as they age. Nowadays, we live longer and longer. I've had 2 aunts who lived to 99. So in my mind, I'm thinking, if
Oh,
I'm going to live to 99, I want to make sure I'm healthy.
and everyone now with your coaching career and the people that you've talked to and experienced and been part of their lives, because you become part of their lives as they become part of your lives, and you know, give and take on that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any correlation with the healthier the person, the more successful they are in life, the more they see they're not worried so much more with more or less the finer things in life, that they can actually have money. It looks like they have money to spare, and they have a better plan of attack of going forward in life.
I actually thank you for bringing that up. Yes, that's true. And part of that is because they can think clearly, because they're not bogged down with the fatigue or the anxiety or whatever else is going on in their lives. Part of my coaching is not just about you eating the right foods or you know, hitting it hard on some exercise. It's also about, okay, what are your relationships like? What's your career like? You know, what are your what's your, if you have a spirituality, are you connected to that? There's so many more aspects to health than just simply eating the right foods. But when you're paying attention to one area of your life, when it comes to your own health, you tend to do really well in the other areas of your life, like finances, like career, like investing. You're making better decisions as you go on.
With the better decisions and the better aspects of all of those items putting together, have you seen that the cleaner the food, the clearer the mind, and with the clearer the mind, they make better better choices, as you were saying before. So all of these items together in little bits are making giant progress and giant strides in their lives.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. And I don't want to overwhelm people, because I want them to understand that these are small habits that you start to create for yourself. And one good habit leads to another good habit, which leads to another good habit. I'll give you an example, right? So I have been meditating for 25 plus years now. I know that after I brush my teeth every morning, I'm hitting the mat.
Okay.
That's how I'm going to start my day. I'm going to start it there, right? So, but I mean, I've been brushing my teeth for decades longer than I've been meditating, right?
Right.
One would hope anyway. But you can see how one habit can lead to another habit, which can lead to another habit. And then you have this snowball of good decisions for your mind, body, spirit, finances, relationships, everything.
Okay. Well, let's break it down a little bit even further with the habits. What what is a good habit to start with, and what makes it a habit?
Good question. Really good question. So I think good habits can be determined by the person and where they're at that moment, right? For me to say, start with food, I mean, I'd like to say start with food because it'll help your brain,
Right.
but that might not be where everybody's at. They might need to have a smaller habit. For example, you know that I've written a couple of books. In one of my books, I will tell you, just put your gym clothes on. Don't even go to the gym. You set your alarm and
Mhm.
just put your gym clothes on. That's all you do for day one. That's it. And then day two, you put your gym clothes on and you walk to the front door. Or perhaps you drink a glass of water before you have a cup of coffee.
Okay.
There's lots of tiny little changes that you can make that will have a huge impact.
And being part those, how long does it take for one of your clients to realize how much of an impact they have from where they started from until where they're at now?
Always depends on where they are emotionally. Okay.
Okay.
So some people come to me because they want to get healthy,
Mhm.
but it's really there's a lot of emotional stuff going on in their lives and they have to unpack that. But I would say an average to 2 to 3 months
Okay. But that
to
varies.
see. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. People don't understand, and this is what I love about what I do, is that health is impacted by so many areas. Your finances, your career, your relationships, that once they start talking, they realize, oh, that's really what's bothering me. And the people under the most amount of stress will be the unhealthiest people. And a
Okay.
lot of people don't realize that unless you can balance the stress somehow, alleviate it at certain times of the day, you can't think as clearly, you can't lose weight, you can't be your healthiest you.
And without being the healthiest you notice, I have noticed personally, as what you were saying is, you start making bad decisions with money. You make bad investments. You spend way too much money on your credit cards. You think your credit cards will be enough. I've also seen, especially another example is, what doesn't matter. That's what the mind.
Mm,
Then the mindset gets into it, and then everything just falls apart. So and you're definitely not being mindful at that point, because right
yeah.
then and there, your emotions are taking over. So along with health of the mind, the body, your spirit, if you will, and you need to also include your emotions from what we were just talking about. So all four of these small little items that people overlook on a day-to-day basis can actually, when they're in check, make better decisions, make better investments, make better life choices.
Absolutely, 100%. And it goes a little back again to starting with just one small habit and let that lead you to the next small habit, which leads you to the next small habit. So if it's finances that you're having issues with, right?
Mhm.
I've talked, plenty of my clients have had some financial issues. So let's take that piece apart for a minute. Okay. So what is going on? I have them bring the bills in to me. Okay, you don't even have a system to track yourself? Okay. Here's a spreadsheet. Okay. So, yeah, you have to take one step at a time. Whatever is on your mind the most right now, whatever's like that aching, gnawing, whatever you want to call it in your mind
Okay.
that's happening right now. That's what you want to start with your smallest habit, right?
Mhm.
So if it is finances and you find yourself in deep debt, right? And that's your biggest worry, then you can't just ruminate on it, lay in bed like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Oh, I got to do this. Oh, and then all of a sudden you're a train wreck of emotions and decisions that are not appropriate for you. When you can be mindful enough to step back and say, let me figure this out. I am going to spend 15 minutes today looking at my finances. I'm going to set aside my fear or my anxiety. I'm going to take a few deep breaths and I'm going to do it for 15 minutes. And what will that change? It could change everything.
Exactly. But you got to wait till 15 minutes to actually get through it to do it. And so that's where a lot of people they don't take that time out. And I have noticed that as well as when I've been coming up doing this and investing and my 9 to 5 jobs and multiple jobs on top of that. And that's what actually got me wanting to write a book, because the book series is also making more money for you. And that's one thing that I have taken into consideration is people aren't being accountable for what their actions are. Accountability starts with being mindful. But if you don't know the first steps to do that, you're going to be in the same cycle and you're not going to move forward.
Yeah, you know what? Accountability is a huge thing in my coaching business. Whatever it comes down to accountability. I have found that when people are accountable to someone like myself, or being honest with maybe their partner or their friend or someone, they can actually move mountains at that point, right? It is the accountability, but it's also the action with the accountability. You've got to have both, and both of those create the habits.
That my mind's just blown right there, because I've seen people do that without thinking about it. And I have also seen people that it takes them a good hot 5-10 minutes to figure out what going from one spot to the next spot to the next spot. And it varies, as just as you were saying, that each person has to do it themselves. No one else can do this for them, for you, for me, for anybody else. And with that, it's mind-blowing that when people watch and see other people excel so much, but they don't understand it. And well, they're the ones that are stuck and they don't know what to do. And the people that are like further ahead, like light years ahead, they didn't have to figure it out. It just comes naturally to them. So is that where your services come into play as well, with coaching and whatnot?
It really is. It's trying to connect you with where you're at right now to where you want to be. And not everybody has this internal motivation, discipline, whatever you want to call of that thing, right? And they need somebody by their side. And they're not always willing to share what they're going through with people that they know. And so it's really good to have like a third party to say, oh, because I could see it more clearly, right? the third party can see it more clearly. And so I would help you get from where you're at to where you want to be with small, easy steps.
Baby steps.
Definitely baby steps.
Or crawling before the baby steps, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on where you're at, right? I mean, my coaching is about being with you where you're at in a non-judgmental space. And people, they're just not heard, right? And they want to be heard. And once they can be heard, they can move forward, right? And, you know, right now, in this day and age with COVID and everything, a lot of people are carrying a lot of anxiety, and it's kind of spinning. And they just need somebody to say, okay, it's going to be okay. You're okay. And you're safe.
That is a very large topic to discuss, especially everybody's lives got shifted, not just one or two. Everybody has been affected by that. But that will have to be a talk for another time, though, because
absolutely,
you know, it's mindful to talk about that stuff because it's still happening. It's still going on right now. But at the moment, we're still doing the day to day. Everything's starting to get a little bit better every day. Every day is a little bit more and a little bit more. And people, I do see people coming back from that little at a time, because if we think about it, it is actually quite, actually, the word I'm looking for here would be devastating, because all of our lives were actually in pieces because we didn't know how to actually do with this. But that we'll actually have another show about that at another time. I have Coach Kimberly Rathburn here with me, and we're talking about mindfulness. We're actually going to scoot out for a couple seconds. We're going to go to a break. We're going to hear some words, and we'll be right back.
You're clear.
You're listening to Making More Money for You with Magnus Carter. If you have any questions for Magnus or his guests, join us on the show at 866-472-5789. That's 866-472-5789. Now back to the show. Here is Magnus Carter.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Magnus Carter. You are definitely listening to the Making More Money for You radio show here on Voice America. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming back. If you're with us with the prior section, I have Coach Kimberly Rathburn with me, and we're discussing being mindful, how mindfulness in body, mind, spirit, and emotions will help you make more money for yourself. And joining with me still here is Coach Kimberly Rathburn. Welcome back.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. It's good to be here. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Most definitely. Glad to have you here on the show. And with everything that we talked about in the first one about being mindful, how our small habits and choices make for long-term effects, you wrote some books on this. You've actually taken the time out of your busy schedule, out of coaching people, out of helping multiple people throughout the years, and you decided to write a book on this. So can you walk us through when you actually decided that your coaching wasn't enough and that you actually wanted to help more people with a book?
Yeah, well, I have always loved writing, and it thrills me. But I also realized that I wasn't having the impact that I really wanted. So I kind of combined my passion from writing and my passion for helping people into these books.
Okay.
And what I did, well, let me tell you what the titles are. They're 31 Days to a Healthier You. Through, one book is food, and the other book is through mindfulness and meditation. And what I love about the books is it is what it says. It's 31 days. So I write a great introduction as to why you really want to make this change to eat better food or to be mindful and meditate. But then I break it up day to day. Day 1, day 2, do this. And both of them lead you to the goal that you want, right? Okay. So for example, in my mindfulness and meditation book, there are 9 different types of meditation and 4 different types of breath work. Now, the thing I love about breath work is it calms the anxiety enough to make better decisions. And so what I do is I walk you through each meditation, each breath work, one on a different day, for you to find out what works best for you. So many people think meditation is just sitting down and trying to make your mind stop. That's really good and helpful, but there's other ones that can do the same thing that could be easier for you.
Okay, because every time I try to meditate, I am falling asleep. No lie, I do. For whatever reason, I'll sit there, I'll have the music on, I'll meditate, and then the next thing I know, 4 hours go away, and I miss my favorite TV show. No lie, no lie. Wow. Definitely no lie there.
Okay, I've fallen asleep once or twice myself. I understand, but there's also a walking meditation. And let me, if it's okay, can I describe that to you quickly?
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of curious, because I'm kind of curious if we walk, like if we actually turn into zombies or if we snap out of it and actually be back to where we're at. So I'm curious about this one as well.
Well, it's actually really fascinating because you're going slow, and we're not used to going slow. Okay, you're really actually thinking about every step you're taking. Okay, and not only are you thinking about the step you're taking, but you're saying it either out loud or in your mind. So how do you walk? You lift your leg, you move it forward, you place it down. You lift your leg, you move it forward, you place it down. And you should probably do this like 20 steps one way and then 20 steps back. The idea is to keep the distractions away and let your mind relax. Now, your mind is not ever going to be completely empty because that is not how our universe works right now, right?
Okay, right.
But what you are doing when you meditate is starting to fire off different chemicals in your brain to allow you to think more clearly when you're done. Okay, so I have a lot of clients that beat themselves up. I can't meditate. I can't meditate. My mind is going so fast. It's like, the Buddhism, they use monkey mind, but in America, I always use squirrel mind. Like you're hopping from one thing to another. I mean, we've all seen the squirrels, right? They're crazy. They're just going from one tree to the next tree and they're all over the place, right? You want to calm that stuff down. And to do that, you can do a walking meditation. You can do some breath work. And when the squirrels start to calm down in your mind, you can make better decisions. And so both books are about taking one day at a time, one small task, by the end of 31 days, creating a habit.
So after the 31 days, you would actually have a habit formed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So after the 31 days, you would actually have a habit formed. Is that correct? So after the 31 days, you would actually have a habit formed. Is that correct? And then how long after after the 31 days, does the habit stay with you as long as you keep doing it? Or does it just become part of your mindset? It's like, and it just happens automatically.
Well, that depends on your dedication to it, right? So in my mindfulness book, there are 13 different activities that you can do, different meditations and mindfulness that you can do. The idea with sharing so many is for you to find 2 or 3 that work for you. So one of my favorites is the 4-7-8 breath work. And you can do that anywhere at any time. So like we were saying in the previous section, we were talking about doing your finances because you're worried about that and you're ruminating, right?
Right.
And we mentioned about, taking the first small step. Tomorrow, I'm going to spend 15 minutes just looking at my finances, right? But if you took 2 minutes to breathe before you looked at your finances, the ruminating, fearful, anxiety thoughts that you were having that kept you up all night will dissipate, and you'll be able to look at your finances with a more clear mindset.
That makes a lot of sense to me. That will definitely put some perspective into a lot of people's minds with it, especially when you don't want to go into your finances. I've seen this happen right into it after something emotional happening to you, and then everything just goes haywire, and a lot more bad decisions happen, and it's more like I've seen people in quicksand. They're struggling to get out of it. But if you take the time and ease your way out of it, less resistance. And that's one thing in your book that covers it, and then my book covers in the mutual fund investing for beginners and budgeting. That takes into accountability of what you're actually spending right then and there,
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't realize how much you're spending, especially when everything's on auto pay and you don't look at your bills, and you look at the bill and you just toss it away, and oh, that's paid for next month already. But you don't realize how much of those you're actually throwing away.
That is so true. That's so true. Yeah. And because of these, it only takes, and I have to say I've been there, so I get it. And I can call it out because I've been there, right?
Right.
It only takes like one life change, and you can spin that way out of control. And with mindfulness, with some breath work, you can bring that back. And you don't have to snowball into disaster or go into the quicksand like you were talking about, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot. But when you're in that mindset, I've been there as well, as you have been, throughout the years and stuff. It's hard to see that right away. But when someone's in that mindset, is there anything the person can do, like almost immediately, to jar that and stop that process and stop that train of thought?
Yeah. So that's kind of a trick question, in the sense that I would tell everybody, go for a walk. Like, and if you run. Like, we hold so much in our body. We have this big facade all the time, that everything's okay, that we're okay. And we want that facade to be projected to other people, right?
Right.
And so we're holding all the stress inside, and it doesn't get a chance to go anywhere. And so now our body's stressed out. We have tense muscles. I don't know if you've ever seen those people who are like so uptight that their shoulders rise to their ears, and they're just really tense. So those people, I mean, we all need to just move our bodies. And for some people, that's go ahead and dance it out. Like put on your angry music or put on your happy music. Music can change your mindset so quickly. So put on some music, go for a walk. Those are probably the two most used with my clients, tools that are used.
Okay, so definitely music.
Yeah.
A great way to do things. I love music when that's available to me. So I'll definitely work on that. Let me see here. I have something here.
Okay.
So with this and your coaching and whatnot, how let's bring this back into what we're actually talking about as you being a coach. As a coaching, what's entailed with your coaching sessions?
So my coaching sessions are, we talk, it depends on the client. So there's two packages, right? It is the, depending on where you're at, we can talk every week for about 50 minutes, or we can talk every other week for 50 minutes.
Okay.
Now, I always offer accountability. So if you're wanting to change food, if you're wanting to exercise, if you're wanting to get a better relationship, whatever it is, we together set up a program that's specifically for my client, this client. So it's tailor-made. We decide together on homework, quote unquote homework.
Everybody loves homework.
Yeah, every session has homework, every session, right? But the homework is to get you from point A and stretch you into point B, slightly out of your comfort zone, but not so far out that you can't reach it. And then between the session calls, my clients have access to me and accountability. So one of my clients really wanted to create a habit of meditating. And so every day she would sit down and meditate. She would text me the amount of time she did that for. So sometimes it would be 5 minutes, sometimes it would be 20 minutes, but she didn't miss a day. She kept going because she knew somebody was going to be waiting for that text. Okay. And if I didn't get a text, I would say, "Hey, you doing okay?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I have to do it in a few minutes, but I'm on it. All right. So my coaching is developed, it's an individualized program. It has accountability, and it gets you from where you are now to where you want to be.
Okay. So that's the live coaching. Do you also use your books in your coaching sessions?
I do. Yes. Some people have already bought them and would like to tweak some part of my book for their particular situation. Or I just teach it to them. We have to figure out a way to lower your anxiety so that you can deal with whatever stressors happening in your life. So if it's finances, if it's relationships, whatever that thing is, it's really important to come from a place where your mind and body feel stable, grounded. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Being stable and grounded is very hard to do in this day and age when you have technology at your hands and your attention span is that of a squirrel.
Yes, it's so
It is.
true.
Every
It's-
time,
it's
squirrel, shiny objects
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. I love that. Shiny objects are everywhere. Yes. Can you imagine turning off your electronics 30 minutes before you go to bed?
No. Uh, I tried doing that and then it ends up finding its way back on by the time I wake up in the next day. So I've tried that, but it doesn't work too well. Somehow I either wake up in the middle of the night or I hit the button and the phone turns back on. It's magic.
It's magic.
It's magic.
Technology is it's its own squirrel mind, really.
Oh, I definitely is. And with that type of squirrel mind, we have social media.
Yes.
Facebook, we have, Twitter, we have this, we have that people are spending more mindful moments on those objects instead of making better choices for themselves. Do you remember when Facebook went down for 3 hours?
Yes, I do remember that.
I was a very big advocate that would happen one day for at least 1 hour. And people looked at me very, very oddly, if you will, that it will never happen. Facebook's so huge, they have so many backups, and the network, it would never allow this to happen and whatnot. 3 hours. That's all I got to say about that is 3 hours, and people went crazy because they lost their mindfulness because they lost their 5 seconds of fame or 5 seconds of attention, whatever they were getting from the phone at the time. And they actually had to focus on something other than that, that was actually part of their life. And people that said that it wouldn't happen, I'd be like, how's Facebook today? Because I would actually text them and I would text them. I was like, how's your Facebook doing? And it was not very nice conversations that they gave back to me because they were in withdrawal from it. So with that, we'll bring that back into being mindful, and you take that the majority we'll call them time bandits, if you will.
Okay. Yes, that's
because
great.
That's what they are. They're robbing us of our time to actually make good choices for us, and we're putting it on a phone, where it's actually where we could actually be doing what you were saying to do, which would be meditating, taking a walk, making better choices for ourselves all in general, taking time to actually look at our finances, which is, one of the major parts of why people are where they're at, is they didn't take that time, but they would rather put it into other means, other avenues, if you will. Now, have you, with the coaching that you do and the meditation and the mindfulness, how have you seen a person that much into other items, time bandits, if you will, that they were actually hurting themselves or actually causing more harm than good by the choices they were making?
Yeah, see, there are these time bandits. There's also food. These, I want to put this delicately, but these are all things that we use to mask our true emotions.
Okay.
Right? To kind of try to listen, there's just so much we don't want to face. We don't want to face it. And so why not go into social media? Why not eat the bag of chips or the pint of ice cream? Right?
Right.
All of this stuff stuffs whatever's going on for us. And we lose out processing what's happening and being mindful of it, right? These
Right.
time bandits used incorrectly, right, will steal from you.
Mhm.
But you don't have to let it.
Okay. That's right. We don't have to let it. So if where can people find you if they are in need they want your services and want to get a hold of you and want to actually change their lives for the better tomorrow? How can they get a hold of you to do these things?
Well, you can always find this seems a little bad. You can always find me on Facebook. Kimberly Rathburn. You can message me there. I'm happy to answer any questions, of course. You're free to call me. Can I give my number?
Absolutely. Whatever you feel like giving out that our
Yeah.
listening audience can use.
My number is 336-365-1107. And you can email me at Prema, Prema, at coachkimberlyprema.com.
Well,
Those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
that is fantastic, Coach Kimberly. I thank you for being on the show. Thank you, listeners. We're actually going to wrap up this show right here. We're going to leave it on a big note that you are in charge of where you're at with your mind, your finances, and your emotions right now. So please take that into consideration. On our next show, we're actually going to go back to our childhood, and we're going to take some lessons we learned from back then, and we're going to see how they're affecting us nowadays. So this is Magnus Carter, your host of Making More Money for You on Voice America Business Channel. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you.
You are clear.
Perfect.
All right, you guys clear and have